On the phone, we have our good friend and ex-comrade, Dan Mika. He's up in Ames, Iowa, I believe. Dan, are you there?
Michael, Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going tonight?
Busy just like you guys.
How's the war room situation looking in Ames?
Like you mentioned, I do work for the Ames Tribune up in Ames, Iowa. We're the local newspaper. Polls closed about 30 minutes ago in Iowa. We're still waiting on some local results. And we're looking just for some more results to come in. Right now, in some very, very early returns from Polk County, where Des Moines is, and the county where the University of Iowa is located, Hillary Clinton looks to have a pretty sizable lead, but that's before Ames comes in, which is normally a very strong Democratic county, plus some other rural areas around the counties. So right now, the last time I checked, Iowa looked to be leaning Republican. But, after what's been going on tonight, anything's up to grabs.
Absolutely. So, Dan, just looking at these swing states right now, obviously a lot of them are very close to call, including Florida, New Hampshire, etc. There's a couple swing states right around you that are also looking pretty close right now, including Wisconsin. What are the general feelings about Wisconsin in the Ames area right now?
From what it seems, I just came back from the Story County GOP party. They seem to be thinking that Florida was going to be that really tight thing that was going to really swing how the election is going so far. I haven't been over at the Democratic Party yet, but it really seems like a lot of people did not expect to be Wisconsin and Michigan to be that close. And those are some of the things that some of the states that Clinton was really counting on to not be so close and to really buoy her through if she didn't win Florida or Ohio. So I think if I were to pop over to the Democrat Watch Party, they'd be pretty concerned.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching pretty closely all over in all over the country, really, and obviously we're still waiting for those West Coast states to come in. But it seems like Donald Trump is holding a pretty sizable lead in Michigan and Wisconsin as well. Can you talk a little bit about why Donald Trump may be doing a little bit better in those states than we would have expected?
I think, I haven't really focused that much on those states, but those are states that are part of the Rust Belt, where that message of anti-free global trade, anti-TPP, those kinds of deals that really resonated with Rust Belt workers who felt like they were being edged out of the global economy really took hold. And I'll use that as a little segue to point out that right now the financial markets are not liking what they're seeing coming out of some of these states. The Dow in after-hours trading has dropped about 600 points. The peso has been a wild ride compared to the U.S. It's dropped about 2 pesos to the American dollar, which is just a very large slide. The futures market has dropped pretty rapidly. And the thing is, I think a lot of people were thinking that Clinton would win in maybe not a landslide, but maybe win in a more secure position, what she's looking at right now. And the markets are just not reacting well to that at all.
Well, Dan, moving on from those markets, because obviously we don't know exactly what's going to happen until the end of the election. Can you tell us a little bit about what the workflow's been like for you up in Iowa compared to what it had been like when you were working the election here last time in Missouri?
Well, it was a lot earlier. I think Missouri closed at 7, I believe. Their polls closed at 7?
Yes, Missouri closes at 7.
Right. So Iowa's polls closed at 9, which means that we come in a lot later. And the workflow has been kind of the same as what I would have been doing working at my old alma mater, the Index. Just waiting for election results to come through at the local courthouse and, just watching the numbers come in and then just kind of looking at how that's playing into the map because Missouri was called pretty early for Trump. But Iowa just seems to be that one of those states that persistently is in the middle, and it'd be interesting to see how that plays out later on, because if it does switch to Clinton, then that could pretty quickly affect how the race is going to go, because right now it looks like it's coming down to the wire. If you're following the poll, if you're following the way the pollsters and many of pundits in the media have really thought that it would go.
Yeah, and you see a lot of these close elections throughout the country. So what's the general consensus? I shouldn't say consensus, but what's the general feeling like in Ames? Obviously, you mentioned that Ames is a pretty strong Democratic stronghold. Was there really any, any fear in Ames today? I mean, obviously, Ames, the home of Iowa State University, a lot of young college students. I don't know. I guess my question is, have you talked to any of them about their general feelings about this election? For many of them, it's the first that they've voted in.
Yeah, I spoke. I didn't go onto campus. I was on some other precincts. I spoke with a wide variety of voters, from someone who spent used their first presidential vote on Donald Trump, to an 85-year-old woman who also voted for Donald Trump but voted first for FDR. I guess the key word here has been anxiety, and followed by just angst at how this election has unfolded, and they just really can't wait for someone to win. And it depends on who wins if that angst turns into anger and just continues to cause some personal problems and some personal angst amongst supporters of either side once this election is called.
All right, Dan. And just another question that I've got for you. Excuse me. Catch coming down with a bit of a cold. All the stress of election season, I'm sure you understand. And that actually kind of leads into my next question. So, with election season coming up, what does your life look like post-election season? Obviously, Iowa being a very important battleground state, not only during the general election, but also in the primary season. So, what is the next step for Iowa politically, I guess is my question.
I guess the way that presidential elections have become is that really the campaign never really stops. I saw a tweet earlier in the day of someone posting 2020 headlines saying that Marco Rubio is going to spend the next 4 years meeting people in diners in Iowa preparing for the 2020 presidential race. That would be a very interesting thing for me to look at. For me personally, when the election results are called and I've got my stories written up, and our races are closed, we'll just come back and do the same thing over again. But I think a lot of people are just really fed up with how the presidential election cycle now works, with Ted Cruz announcing his candidacy so early, and just how down the dumps and how long and dragged out this election season seems to be. I think a lot of people are just really, really ready to just have a couple months off and just not have to think about what's going to happen in the next presidential election. And then you have to compare that to a system that really benefits from just having a perpetual campaign.
Yeah, we can definitely sympathize with that. Obviously, Missouri not as much of a battleground state as other states, but the electioneering happens very early in Missouri as well. And you're right, it never really seems to stop. While we were talking, we have a bit of a news update. This might impact how you talk about politics and how you talk about the election for the rest of the night. It has been projected, CNN and ABC News have both projected that Virginia will go to Hillary Clinton this evening. Any insight on how that might shape the way that this election turns out tonight?
That's interesting.
Virginia went for Bush, I believe, in 2000, 2004. It used to be a very strongly Republican state, and then through a little combination of demographic shifts and loosening of felony voting laws, wherein some of the ex-governors gave some felons back the right to vote. It voted for Obama twice in 2008 and 2012. So you can view that as maybe a demographic shift in a state that is really close to D.C. and kind of in that middle part of the country where it's technically part of the South, but it does have enough urban. It does have enough of an urban feel and a kind of liberal bent to make it a battleground state for years to come. I'm pretty sure that was also a toss-up state coming in, so the Clinton camp has to feel pretty good about that. But still, I see a long night ahead and a pretty tough road ahead for anyone who's really rooting for their candidate.
We do not disagree with you, Dan. We're actually going to let you go. Thank you very much for calling in. And, hey, you still riding high off that Cubs World Series win?
I am still – oh, yeah.
That's good to hear, brother. We'll let you go. Thank you very much for calling in again, man. I'll get a hold of you soon. We'll talk, all right?
All right. Anytime. Thanks, guys.
All right. See you later, Dan.